Hello, and welcome to Anxiety Hacks, the podcast that explores the ways in which anxiety affects our daily lives and the strategies we can use to manage it. So, I'm your host, Kate Hudson-Hall, and in today's episode, we'll be discussing anxiety behaviors with our special guest, Alta Schwab. Now, Alta's battle with anxiety began in childhood and continued through college and well into adulthood. Despite facing chronic Lyme disease and Hashimoto's thyroiditis in her 20s, Alta was determined to regain her health and help her clients. She studied neurosomatic therapy, EFT, the tapping therapy, emotional freedom technique, psychology, energy healing, and personal development, all in an effort to manage her anxiety and improve her well being. So, in this episode, Alta will share her personal experience with anxiety and how it's affected her life. And she'll also provide with us some valuable insights into the different behaviors associated with anxiety and the various techniques she's used to manage them. So, whether you're struggling with anxiety yourself or know someone who is, this episode is for you. Stay tuned for a conversation filled with helpful tips and practical advice on how to cope with anxiety behaviors. So let's get started. Alta, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, thanks. I'm so happy to be here.
Yay. Thank you. So, should we begin by about your journey with anxiety?
Yeah, it's been a long one. It started when I was a young child. To be honest, I'm not actually sure exactly what age because I don't remember a time in my life where I didn't have it going on in the back. Um, but especially when I was around probably 6 or 7,
Right.
I had such severe crippling anxiety that I like couldn't be away from like an adult family member, someone that I knew and was comfortable with. Like I wasn't okay being dropped off at the park with my cousins when my parents were even out of sight, like even if they were there. And I had a hard time going to sleep at night. Like I was just terrified I was going to die in my sleep. And then I was going to be like totally alone and isolated from everybody. So this has been something that's been going on for a long time. I got to college and high school, or high school and college, and like had a hard time like going to camps and things. I just didn't like being away from my family and my safety nets and stuff like that. And I didn't sleep well. I was in a constant state of like just a pent up ball of energy and like, couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, all that fun stuff. Um, got to college and started getting a little bit of a handle on it. But then when I got sick um, with the Lyme disease, it just ramped up to a whole new level. Um,
So,
so
Alta. So for people that don't know what Lyme disease is, because I know that it is. It's people talk about it a lot more now, but for people that don't know what it is, so what is it?
the Lyme disease is an infection. It's generally speaking a very chronic infection that you get from ticks, and now mosquitoes are starting to carry it as well.
Oh, are
It,
they?
yeah, yeah. At least in the southern parts of the United States and like closer to the equator, the mosquitoes are starting to carry it. Um, it is an infectious disease that kind of pairs up with a lot of other infectious diseases that we call co-infections because they go together.
Right.
And so all of these infections are attacking your immune system. And so you're in a constant state of the symptoms vary greatly, but the most common ones are chronic pain, um, or like this extreme fatigue, and brain fog. So, like when I say fatigue, this is not I'm wiped out after a day of, or I just got done running a marathon or whatever. This is like 30-pound weights on every limb and on the back of your head, like
Gosh.
it is incomprehensible to someone who hasn't experienced it. The closest the average person gets to fatigue is a true influenza.
Right.
Like the kind that makes it so it is physically incapable, that you are physically incapable of doing anything. Like, just to contextualize this, I would sometimes I would get in the bathtub and I would not be able to get out for, I kid you not, 3 hours because I was so exhausted and it took so much energy to get out. And then I would lay on the bathroom floor for another hour to summon up the energy to crawl to my bed.
How
So,
horrific.
yeah. And brain fog, I mean, it's like walking around with a like big storm cloud over your head. You just can't connect with people. You can't think clearly. It truly is like being in a fog all the time.
Yeah.
And then you throw in the pain element and it just it cripples people. People will go for decades without figuring out what's going on, being misdiagnosed. You throw in on top of that most doctors, it's changing now. But in the beginning, when I was diagnosed, and for many years before that, we were told that chronic Lyme disease wasn't a thing. It goes away with 3 weeks of antibiotics, and then any symptoms that are lingering are not from Lyme disease, or they're just in your head. So you get a lot of doctor gaslighting too. So they told me that I was an anxious college student, not that I was sick. So
how difficult.
I hope that kind of explains the Lyme disease thing.
Yeah. No, that was good. That was good. So once you managed to sort of figure that out and get the correct help, how was your anxiety after that?
Then it became much more of social anxiety and like a little bit of like an existential anxiety around my spiritual beliefs and things like that. And once I got those figured out, some of that resolved quite a bit. But when I got the Lyme disease under control enough and started dealing with the social stuff, that's when I started delving into like I had a really, really bad breakup. And so after that, I was supposed to get married, and then he said some really horrible things. And there was just a lot of gaslighting. It was not a good relationship. And so that increased the anxiety again. And so I started diving into any kind of healing, emotional healing, heart healing, things like that. And that's when I started delving into energy healing, emotional freedom technique, things like that, to start to try to get a handle on this, because I had gone back to the not sleeping thing. Like,
Right.
I was going to die in the middle of the night, that kind of thing. Like it was.
Oh, okay. So from when you were young, you went all the way back then.
It came back. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's when I was like, okay, I cannot keep living this way. I cannot deal with this. And so I had been making connections in the nervous system, because something I figured out throughout my Lyme disease journey was the nervous system, the fight, flight, stress response is the underlying problem with everything that's going wrong in your life. And that's not an exaggeration, because that gets set off by your thoughts alone. This fight or flight response is only supposed to happen under actual life and death situations, life and death danger situations.
Right.
And so if you are not in physical danger, actual physical danger, your body should never go into fight or flight. Yeah. But it's been so normalized that people talk about being stressed as though, oh, it's just a part of life and this is how it's supposed to be, and you just kind of have to manage it. It's never really going to go. That's what people told me about Lyme disease. It's never going to go away. You're going to have to live with this for the rest of your life. Are you seriously telling me that I'm supposed to live with illness for the rest of my life? Are you kidding me? No, not doing that. It's the same thing with this.
I'll have none of that. Thank you very much.
I'll have none of that. Thank you very much. Exactly. It's the same thing with the stress response. We've been gaslit into, because nobody's been able to get a handle on it clearly. It's just the way it is. It's this evidence-based, my experience has shown me this, therefore it's the truth. There's a difference between reality and truth. I mean, some truth is reality, but for the most part, what you're experiencing is just experience. It's facts, but there's a ultimate truth that says, no, we were created to be healthy. We were created to be peaceful. We were created to have abundant, joyful lives. That's the
Yeah.
original intent.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I've been
Absolutely.
trying to figure that out. And so the nervous system fight or flight response, when this is going off, which, like I said, can be set off just by your thoughts alone,
Yeah.
when this is going off, it shunts blood away from your brain. So, first of all, what do you think that does? It makes you not think clearly. It makes you illogical. It makes you less resourceful, less capable of creatively solving and coming up with creative solutions. All these different things. It makes you more likely to just act on instinct.
Right.
And this whole feeling of the buzzword these days is triggered. Triggered is what happens when your stress response is set off.
Yeah.
That is triggered. And so, in addition to shunting blood away from your brain, it shunts blood away from your extremities, your fingertips, your toes, your arms, your lower arms, and it keeps blood only in the muscles and organs
Around the
that
organs, isn't it? Yeah.
that are needed to run.
Yeah. To get
So it
pumped up to
shunts it away
run
from your
for the
digestive system.
hills. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So your digestive system doesn't get as much blood. Your heart and lungs get blood, but your digestive system, your elimination systems, all these things, they don't get blood anymore. So that's where your immune system, 70% of your immune system is in your digestive system. 70% of your serotonin, so your feel-good hormone, is produced in your digestive system. This is a big deal. So that tanks, that's, brings up depression.
Alta, is your microphone, is it, because it's gone a bit quieter?
Oh,
Oh, that's
I
better.
haven't
Yeah.
changed anything. Okay,
Oh.
sorry. I haven't changed anything, so I don't know.
I don't know. I was wondering if you were moving further away from the microphone. I don't know.
No, I have an old computer, so there's a possibility that some of that's
Oh yeah, no,
changed.
we can hear you now. Mm.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah.
Where was the last thing that you heard?
So, oh no, we could hear you, but it was kind of going distant.
Okay.
Being quieter.
I lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so the extremities, so the blood gets pumped around all the main extremities.
Okay, so 70% of
Organs.
your serotonin is produced in your digestive system.
Mm.
And so that's the underlying cause of depression is serotonin issues.
Yeah.
So, that brings up depression in addition to your immune system gets tanked. So that brings up illness, chronic pain, things like that. Your blood flow isn't restored until the fight or flight response is shut off. And if it never gets shut off, you don't get blood flow back to lots of different parts of your body. And so that causes pain in the long term.
Yeah.
So it truly is the underlying issue with everything. And how do you think that affects anxiety?
Absolutely.
So that's why I focus so heartily on the nervous system stress response, and emotional freedom technique is the best thing I've found for dealing with this.
Oh, yes, I love the tapping. It's absolutely fantastic. So for people that don't know, it's tapping on a routine of points while thinking about any negative feeling, any negative emotion, any negative thought, and you can reduce that down by tapping on this routine of points. And
Yes, tapping is clinically proven to reduce the level of cortisol, which is your stress response hormone, in 2 to 3 minutes, and your adrenaline within 5 or 6 minutes. So it's a physical switch for the stress response. So there's 3 ways to rewire your stress response. There is physically switching it off, which is the tapping. Then there's what we call top down, which is changing your thoughts to change how you feel. So changing your thoughts, changing your beliefs, the beliefs is really a different section. The thought process, paying attention. In Christianity, we refer to this as taking your thoughts captive.
Yeah.
So taking captive your thoughts and changing how you think, that is, 99% of self-help and self-improvement industry is top down. The
Yeah.
problem is top down is far less effective because your 90%, 85 to 90% of your thoughts are subconscious.
Yeah.
So, that's the whole iceberg thing. You only see the top 10%. So you can't become aware of thoughts that you're not aware of
Yeah.
unless someone points them out to you or unless you're getting help in some way. So that's where bottom up rewiring comes in. And that's where we go back. And the type of tapping I do, tapping is just the modality. The process is really the key. So that's where we go back and we're looking at traumas, we're looking at family paradigms, we're looking at behavior patterns and things that go back through your family. We're looking at where these belief systems came from. And this is actually where we come to the idea of looking at childhood psychology and understanding the issues that you have in your life can be traced back to different points in your childhood. So if you have this feeling of not feeling safe, not feeling secure, it's mostly going to go back to when you were in utero until about age 2. That's when our sense of safety and security is established or not established. And if it's not established, everything this is where like the hierarchy of needs comes in. If you've ever seen that pyramid of Maslow's hierarchy of needs,
Yes.
this is the bottom section. The bottom section, the base of our pyramid is sitting on a 2-year-old's shoulders.
Yes.
So that's where the primary amount of anxiety comes in, is this idea that you learned when you were very, very young, if you have a constant state of anxiety, that the world isn't safe. And so then your emotions are built on top of that. Your willpower and your ability to take action is built upon that, and your relationships, your what you speak, what you say, what you believe, what you think, and then your connection to God is all built on this. Have you felt like you were safe or secure when you were less than 2? And so that's the bottom up rewiring. We have to go back and find these places and rewire them with these tapping processes in order to basically correct your foundation so that you can build on top of that. So we're going at this from 3 different angles.
That's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And so when somebody comes to see you, so then you'll sort of start off with going back to basics and to the foundation. Is that where you would start?
The very first thing we do is we get super, 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 super clear on what it is you want. If your goal is to, anxiety looks different for everybody. So if your goal is, I want to be able to go to the grocery store without feeling like I have to turn around and run out, that's, what we really focus on when we kind of really hone in on and get clear on what is preventing you from feeling that way. And so then we'll go through and we'll find, okay, there was an early paradigm. There was something that went on with your parents at this point. There's this belief system. There's this vow that you have that says that you need to be invisible, and that if anybody notices you or sees you, then you're not safe, and all these different things. And so we'll get really clear on what's underlying. We'll lay out this map of what's causing your anxiety. And then we'll work through this process. This is actually very closely tied into, like I said, the hierarchy of needs. We'll go through the safety and security section. We'll go through the belief and possibility section. We'll go through the taking powerful action section. And then we'll go through the continuing to go on section. So there's a very structured process to go through as we're trying to basically rewire how you interact with your whole life.
Yeah.
In order to change your relationship to the world and make it so that you're not feeling so anxious and stressed about it all the time. Because if we find that you have underlying ulterior motives or hidden agendas or things like that, those are going to affect. It's like the reason why just for example, going into like sales, the reason why I'm afraid to make this sale, even though it's going to make me money and make me more secure by having this money, the reason why I don't make this sale is because if they say no, it means I'm a failure. It means my family was right. It means this person was right when they said that I'm a failure. I'm never going to amount to anything, things like that. And that's going to be the kind of thing that will cause you stress. And we have to figure out that that's there and then rewire it so that somebody telling you no in a sale is just because they're either not the right person or it's not the right fit.
Or
Not
maybe it's connected to a limiting belief.
Exactly.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
So did that
So yeah, no, that's great. So Alta, so if what sort of tips have you got for people, for the listeners, that they could take away today to help with their anxiety?
the number one thing that is the most helpful for anxiety is if you tap for 5 or 6 minutes a day. So that's this whole process of there's the top of that tapping points I use are primarily at the top of the head, the root of the eyebrow, side of the eye, under the nose, under the chin, and then the collarbone. Tapping through a rotation of these points for 5 to 6 minutes a day will change your life. That alone, and all you have to do is basically say the inside thoughts out loud. You know, no matter how horrible, how scary, how nasty, like I literally have had to do this. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I just know I'm going to die. I just know if I sleep, I'm going to die. I'm going
So
to die.
you're tapping on the points on your face. Yeah.
Because what it does is it takes the scary, terrifying thought and then it floods your body with calming hormones as you're going through it. And then by the time you get done with it, it's like, well, that's stupid. Of course I'm not going to die when I sleep, Like, it changes your outlook
Yeah.
on that alone will change your life. Just saying the inside thoughts out loud, and this is, I don't work with PTSD in terms of like Army vets or anything like that, mostly just because I haven't had them come up.
Yeah.
It's not that I wouldn't work with them, it's that I haven't had it come up. But I know of lots of people who have done this with even people who are in that extreme level of dissociation.
Yeah.
They'll go through,
Well,
they'll talk.
I learned emotional freedom technique, I don't know, in 2004. So I've been teaching it to my clients for a long time. And it's absolutely fantastic to be able to help clients to move forward in their life for so many different reasons, whatever it may be. And in my book, Anxiety Hacks, there's a whole section in there that teaches you the tapping points and how to actually follow through and use the emotional freedom technique. So, check that out, because all the steps are in there, because it's fascinating and it does work. It's brilliant, brilliant.
Yeah, it really
So,
does.
Alta, so how can people find you? So you're working online, I take it.
I am working online. So you can find me, my Facebook is Alta Schwab. So Alta is not a very common name. So you'll have no problem finding me. It's ALTASCHWAB. My business page is 645 Consulting. So 6:45 Consulting.
Right.
And I have a Facebook group that you can find on either of those pages that you can join, where I'll go in and do some teaching and different things like that. And primarily I'm on Facebook these days.
Oh, well, wow. Thank you so much for all this fascinating information, Alta. It's good. I'm sure
Yeah.
it's super helpful for everybody with anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you ever so much for joining us.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to everybody for listening. And before we can, make sure that you subscribe to the podcast on Apple iTunes so you never miss an episode. And also maybe leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. It would be fantastic. And thank you for listening. So I look forward to chatting with you in the next episode.